Welcome to another Fear Street review.
Pew, 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 pew. Today we're reviewing An Unquiet Grave, which premieres on Shudder June 24th.
As usual, we're going to spoil some stuff. So if you are anti-spoilers, I agree. Spoilers are the worst. You don't want to watch this. Us speaking, not the movie. You want to watch the movie, maybe. But you don't want to watch this review. If you love a good spoiler time, then grab a cup of tea and hang out for a while.
Get it? All right, so in An Unquiet Grave, a year after losing his wife in a car crash, Jamie convinces her sister Ava to return with him to the site of the accident and help him perform a strange ritual. Look out, Ava. But as the night wears on, it becomes clear that he has darker intentions.
And were they dark? I feel like this movie is Are You Afraid of the Dark, but for adults. It's dealing with adult-aged people and adult-aged themes, if that makes sense, because how many kids are losing their wives?
Not many.
So, not many. Very few. I could probably count them all on one hand if I thought about it. It's kind of a simple movie about grief, and I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, it was a little too simple for me. I felt like the pacing was a little slow because nothing was really happening for a lot of the film. It was a little too simple, and also maybe that was because I clocked from the moment they're in the car together that he was gonna kill her. I was like, Ava, girl, you're in trouble.
It was a predictable but good time. I'm a ruiner, so and plus they were not subtle. We were like, yeah, no, she's not coming back from this. And so it was very predictable. I'm not going to lie to you. If you don't like predictable things, don't watch this. I also don't like predictable things, but I had a good time. I do agree that it could have gone further, though, because, again, I know it's about grief, and I'm fine with that. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's fine that we don't bring this woman back from the dead and have her rip off heads and throw them and eat people. But I just felt like I felt like we hurried up to get somewhere, and then we just sort of stagnated and dealt with the grief and let them have some really beautiful moments scene-wise as they dealt with grief.
And I think that there's a I agree that we didn't want to see her ripping people's hands off and being like, I'm a demon now, being like Pet Cemetery, dead's better. I know we don't want that, but I needed more connectivity they could have gone further in their characterizations between and the relationships of the characters. I wanted to see more. Just make me care about the characters, because I didn't really.
It's a tricky thing because, again, this woman was raised from the dead and is wearing her sister's body, so she's freaking out about all of that. And so it's hard to be like, well, let's get it on real quick and go pick out some new plates and glasses. There's a lot to unpack. And so it's just sort of watching her have these moments where she's like, these aren't my hands, and asking where her sister is and why she's in her sister, and trying to make peace with the fact that she was dead and now she's not.
Yeah.
And she does not feel good about that.
Right. And there were definitely some great dialogue moments. Like you mentioned the hands moment, but then also when she's picking at the scab and she says, I feel like I'm wearing this. And Jamie asks her, what is she talking about? She says, this skin. She feels like that's not her skin. It's so interesting. And once again, Sheree, we find ourselves inside other people again.
We are always inside somebody. And we might have to change the name of the podcast to A Nightmare Inside Somebody. But yeah, no, that there were some beautiful moments playing with that. I think because the movie was so short, it didn't get to really flesh those out and give it the breadth that some of us would want, because I know I would spend more time with these people, which is weird because normally I'm like, this could have been an email, but I would have done another 20 minutes with this movie. I would have. But also I wanted to know more about the sisters' relationship. That is a thing that I did want to know, because again, you have this woman who's willing to do anything but maybe sacrifice herself for her sister. We don't know because she was never asked. And you have this woman who believes her trash husband when he's like, she wanted it this way. She wanted you to have her body. And so I'm just like, I feel like if you and your sister are close, you know how you would feel in the situation, and you know how she would feel in the situation. So you call shenanigans and be like, good sir, my sister would not let me have her body.
Yeah, just a little PSA to all of my friends and loved ones who are watching this. If someone tries to say that I willingly gave you my body, they are lying. If you are dead, I'm sorry. I love you. I miss you. If there's an afterlife, we'll see each other again. But I sacrificed myself to bring you back from the dead. I'm sorry. And if someone tried to tell you that, they lying.
Lies. Yeah, no, like people know each other well enough to know what is and is not appropriate.
Right.
And I feel like another reason she was having with adjusting to be in her sister's body is she was like, he's my husband, but I think he's lying to me. But
Right.
also I've been through a lot tonight. And so like what is priority? Like
Right. And I agree. I wanted to see more between the sisters, and maybe that would have invested me in the film more. Because as the film stands, the only character I really gravitate to is Ava, because Jules is just kind of out of it most of the time she's on screen, um, and Jamie, which we'll get to him in a minute. But yeah, and I'm one of those people that I will attach myself to a character very early on,
yeah,
because
you did.
Ava does not survive very long. Um, but she was the only one that was giving me a character that I was like, oh, okay, I would be Ava's friend. Like, yeah. Um, so and then and maybe that would have, if I could have seen interaction between the sisters, like flashbacks, or I don't know. I don't know. It just wasn't there for me.
I feel like flashbacks would have hurt the movie because again, it's so simple and it's so Are You Afraid of the Dark and it's telling this one central story, and so it has to start on this night and go forward from there and then end where it ends. Like if it started moving around and jumping around, I don't think it would have been as effective, and I think it would have gotten lost, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
then it would have become a different movie. However, I feel I gravitate towards Jules just because, again, this woman was dead and seemed fine being dead, and then is like thrown into her sister's body and disoriented and being lied and sort of gaslit by the man she married. And she's trying to figure out all of that while also being like, I'm wearing my sister. Where
Right.
was I? What is this world if I'm back in it? And because this is a lot to deal with. If you die and you know what you know, and then you are thrown back into this shit world, there is a lot to unpack there. And so I was fine with her trying to like navigate it all and figure it out and just being lost between being who she is, but she's not that person anymore because that person's dead, but also not her sister.
Yeah.
I was with her struggle. I was with it.
Well, there was that one moment when they're driving in the car, and Ava is telling the story of Jules and Jamie's wedding, or wedding reception, or something to do with their wedding. And we kind of got snippets of Jules and Ava's relationship within that. So maybe more moments like that would have been nice, especially since we spent, let's say, a third of this film driving this damn car.
Because it's such a short movie. It's like 75, 80 minutes. Because I was like, what do you mean I'm halfway done? I feel like we just got started.
Right. It is very short.
Which again is why I think it feels like adult Are You Afraid of the Dark? That's what I was picking up from the beginning. And I think that's another reason why I'm like, I'm kind of into you. Let's see what you do.
Yeah.
A critique that I do have though is that this movie was very dark, and not like tone wise or character wise, but just like dark to visually look at. And so I found myself missing a lot of what I assume is acting. Otherwise, people are just staying there saying things without even trying. And I feel like there might be some good acting, but I couldn't see any of it because it was just such a dark film to watch.
Yeah, I say there was probably half of this film I couldn't see, and maybe that's why it didn't land for me, because I think this film relies on great performances, and they may have been there, but I sure couldn't see them. And so if you have a film that's going, like, because you have some films that rely on scares, you have some
Yeah.
films that rely on gore, you have some films that rely on a really interesting plot. This one, I think, relied on characters and great acting, and I couldn't see them.
Part of me is really hoping that we got like a screener of an earlier version and they're touching up the color as we speak, because it's about to like hit Shudder real soon. And I would love that. I would go back in to watch it if I could see it. Like I would, because I had a good time, as much as you can have a good time in a movie about grief.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, all right. Sheree, is it a yay or a nay?
It's a yay for me. I think that there was just enough there, especially for how quick and compact this is. Like it is like a Mini Cooper of a movie, y'all. And so like that hatchback is there and it's crammed in and we're gonna like hit the road. And
Yeah.
so I would recommend it. I would recommend it just because of all of the above statements and the fact that it is a quick ride. So like worst case scenario, you're like, I disagreed with Sheree. There goes a whole hour and 10 minutes. Like
Yeah, it's a nay for me. I think maybe my issue, other than the I couldn't see half the movie, but maybe I wanted it to either be long, get that 20 extra minutes and give me more character, more relationship building, or cut it to where it's just the trimmest thing and it's 30 to 45 minutes and it is just wham bam thank you ma'am go home. um there was just so many things that left me bored, but there is potential in the theme and the ideas, and you know, yeah. So it's an A for me though.
I would have watched another 20 minutes because again, I was living my best grief riddled dark campfire story life this morning.
Right. And you
Ah,
tend to love darker themed tone stuff more than I do.
I
Um
do. Yeah,
and
I
so maybe
do.
that but maybe that's the thing, that like this film is it's not giving me enough or it's giving me too much, and it kind of walks that line, and neither of which are good for me. So it's an A.
That's fair. Special thanks to our friends at Shudder for making this review possible.
Hit us up in the comments. Let us know if you agree. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Shrey? Could you see the film? Uh, let us know. And as always, make sure you stay fierce out there.
Bye.